Hey everyone, what's up? Hope you're doing well. It's John from BSuperfly, bsuperfly.com. And today I'm just going to cover some cool things you can do with gradients. I've had a crush on gradients for a long time. Here's a recent project that I worked on, mesh gradient in there, of course. A couple spots in the footer, great. On our new BSuperfly website, we actually used a couple gradients, mesh gradient effects here, and then on these hover effects here again, just all over the place, right? And then this big, humongous button, which I'll talk about this in a little bit. It's actually not a button, it's actually a row, but that coming in with some gradient love. Back in the day, we even released this gradient child theme that just featured, gradients everywhere. Gradient text right here. Here as well. Some cool stuff like that. That's how much I love gradients. Even have an older tutorial here you can check out from 6 years ago on our channel, how to add gradient backgrounds in Divi with opacity and animation. So be sure to check that out. So today I'm going to cover a few things. Oh, and lastly, on our Break into Web course that Kelly and I also run, gradients up here, and again, it's going to be tons of gradients, including this cool, another one there, with a little animated GIF background there. And then this guy here, which is kind of a rotating color type effect that I'll show you today as well. Okay, so this is the page that I'm working from, and you can see here the colors are changing in this top portion. I'm going to go over that last because it's kind of, it's a little tricky, and it involves a little bit of CSS and stuff. And then we have this here, which is just a gradient background. And I'll show you what generator I used for this. Because the one inside Divi is great, but you can't quite do things like position them how you want. And then again, we'll go over this guy, which I got from that Break into website. And I'll show you how to do that. So let's dive in. I'm going to start with the easiest one first, which is this one. And so there are a couple resources that I use to make gradients. Mesher is one of them, and this one's pretty dope because you can easily randomize stuff and get different colors. And if I don't like that color, I can remove it, and then also I can find these color points and kind of move them where I want. That color down there's a little too much for me, and I'm not this yellow. I can change this background to be something else to get some softer colors. What you can also do, let me move my screen here so you can put this over here. You can click this. So this thing's kind of cool because it kind of shifts through colors. You can till you find something you like, or you can click this extra options here. And again, these are going to be going through that color wheel. This one is going to either darken or brighten your. So you have some pastels there that are really nice. I can't remember what it was at. I think it was on 50, maybe. I don't know, maybe 75. We'll put it right here. And then this one's going to be like, it's kind of cooling those colors down, saturation going down to black and white kind of deal. And so this one's pretty cake to use. All you got to do, and let me go to this other page. Excuse me. I'm going to enable the visual builder, and we'll hop in. Let me scooch this back over here. Okay, and all we're going to do here on this section here is where I want that one. I'm going to go in here and go into my Advanced tab, Custom CSS, and I'll make this page as a JSON file that you can download and import. But you can see here, I'm selecting this section here, and then I got my background image right there. So what I'm going to do is, let's say this is the new one that I want, and I'm going to go ahead and hit export here. Now this particular mesh generator doesn't give you an image. Now you could screenshot this, and use it, but if I hit export, it gives me this code here, and it gives me a background color here, and then a background image. Well, I'm going to set my background color in Divi, so I'm going to ignore that one. I'm going to grab this one here, though, and I'm going to copy that to the clipboard, and I'm just going to come back here and replace this here with that. And then as far as my background color, this is your fallback. Man, I don't know if I'm fine with that color. Yeah, that's fine. I'll leave it like that. That's fine. And I'll hit save. and then go back to my, oh, I got to exit the, here, let me go ahead and right click and choose exit. And then there we go. Got my new one up here. And the cool thing is you could probably, since this is all based on code here, you can do media queries in here and say, you know what, at, not that you would want to do this, but let's say at 1200, I'm going to do a different one. So let me just go ahead and regenerate a different one quick here. Randomize, 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 randomize. Oh, that's cool. Okay, fine. Export. And I'll grab these for here. Close this guy. And we're in this here. So I'm going to say selector. Get my open and closing brackets in and paste that in. Say OK and save. All right, so now I'm going to refresh this page, and when I get to 1200 pixels, it's going to change to the next. Easy. That one's easy. I'm going to a couple more on this one here. Here's another gradient generator I saw called Mesh, and this one's cool because it allows you to move points around. I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to hit Get Started. It's got a little tutorial here. These points determine what colors show up on the output. Okay, cool. And then this is the final design that allows warping. Okay, awesome. And so let's go ahead and pick some different colors here. That seems pretty bright. We'll say okay on that one. Let me get started again and do that again. There we go. Okay, so this is great. Yep, continue. Yep, this is good. All right, so let's say these are the colors that I want to go with. What I can do is I can kind of move these around to kind of blend in. So let's say I know the section underneath is going to have this same color as a background. I just want this kind of toward the top of my design. But you can really do some cool stuff here. So let's say this is kind of what I'm going for right here. Number one, I can, well, this is the gallery. I'm sorry, this is the gallery. You can choose these as starting points. But here I can export this. And that's going to dump out a image here. So this time it's an image instead of code. Which, let me go back here. Let me change some of these colors around. Let's do that. And then this one, let's go a little lighter here. And then, okay, that's cool. Fine. Cool. So let's say I'm going to export this one. And so now I have these two options. And that's how we used two different ones to create this kind of hover effect on our on our homepage here. So basically we're setting, I'll inspect element here, and if I get enough requests, I'll do a tutorial on this. I just don't want to make this one too long. But you can see here this div ID home hero. Here we go. This row here. So this row here has the first background image applied to it just by default. And then with CSS, we added this. Is after? Did we use after or before? Let's see. We have a before using this other image. And right now this is set to opacity 0. If I turn this off, it's going to come on. And so basically we have code saying, hey, when someone hovers over this row, let that before section fade in, and then let it fade out when they get off of it. And that's how you get this to happen. And that same idea is down here on this button. This button actually isn't a button. If you look at it, it's going to be another row. So it's basically the same idea as up there. And so then when they hover over it, that background image is changing. Well, it's fading in and on that before pseudo element. And then, then your regular stuff like your glow color changing, that can all be done in the module. So if I get enough requests, I'll do a tutorial on that. But I just wanted to show you this other program. So, I could easily swap those out with with those two colors. That could be cool, All right, let me go back to, so I'll make sure to link that This is a resource as well as Mesher in the description. So last thing I'm going to do, oh wait, we got two more, I guess. I guess we got this one now. So this one now is pretty fun. I'm just going to show you what's happening here. So I'll go down into this section, and you can move this code out of this area and put it in a CSS file if you want. But basically, I'm creating another before pseudo class here, and it's empty. That means it just has no text in it. I'm positioning it to where it's just going to take the whole width of the section that it's in. And then I'm setting it at 90% opacity. You see if I turn it to 1, now you can't see that background image more. Or if I wanted to do 0.5, you're really going to be able to see that. So I felt like 90 or 95 is pretty good. I'll leave it at 90. And then what I'm going to do is, and I could have had this, actually I could have just had this in the same rule. So I'm going to move this, actually, copy this and paste this in the same rule. There we go. That way I can get rid of this. Okay. And so then after that opacity, I'm setting the background color here, and you can just change these colors to the colors that you want. And then this background size is just ginormous. And yeah, not sure exactly why it's that big, but it works. And then I'm using this animation called gradient background. I probably don't need this WebKit and Moz anymore. So I'm going to take that out for this one. And same up here. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. There we go. So animation gradient background, 15 seconds. That's how long it's going to take to cycle through these 4 colors. And then you can mess with the degree too. This kind of, the angle that it changes, you know. So if I said 90 degrees, then it's kind of going to go from left to right. Or if I said 180 degrees, now it's going to go from top to bottom. And I can't remember what I had it at. There we go, 223. That seemed to work for me. And then I'm just calling this gradient background animation. And here's the keyframes for the animation. You can leave this how you want, but that's how that one's done. So not bad. A little bit of code here. Not much. Let me get this back here. There we go. Cool. And again, I'll export this so that y'all can have it. And I'm kind of a OCD when it comes to spacing and stuff like that. So you'll get this code as part of this tutorial. That's dope. And then lastly, we'll look at this guy. So this guy was super fun to make. Oh, and down here, I wanted to say on this one, obviously, if you want to, you know, for this example, I set the animation at 15 seconds, but normally I have it around 30 seconds. So it's just kind of slower, and it just takes a little longer. And I think I like that better. It's more of a gradual change over time. Okay, and then same with this one as well. You can see that it's moving a little faster than I like. So this one, let me make this a little bigger here. Go ahead and save my page here. Just want to make sure that code worked. Okay, yeah, that's working. Okay, cool. And just to, you know, I should probably make sure, because some of that Moz prefix in that animation was for Mozilla. So let me just make sure that still works in Firefox. Yeah, I figured it would, because it's been enough time. Initially, not all browsers supported it, and that's why I had those prefixes. But anyway, all right, so on to this one. So I'll show you the makeup this one first. Let me just go ahead and go to my layers here. All right, so we have a section that's holding everything here. My first row here is just this. You know, it's a 2-row deal that has in this column, this first column, that's where you got the text and the button here. And this second column, you got the image. So I'm not really doing anything with that row at all. And then you have this row here, which this row is holding an image, and this row is where all the most of the action's happening. But let me go into my section first and just show you what I have going on. I just have this black background color, which I could actually just get rid of. And then as far as advanced, I don't need this on here. There's nothing going on in here. And then spacing, I'm getting rid of the padding top and bottom. I did that because you'll see, I'll show you why in a second. Okay, now in this first row, I am doing something in this first row. I'm adding this background, this gradient here. And this gradient is what's causing these two divider lines up here. I don't know if you can see those, but you can see if I move this, it kind of goes away. And so I got these here. And that's why I removed my padding on my section, is that when I went to tablet, there was space showing between here. And so that's what I'm using on that row. That row is providing that guy. And then this row is where all the action is. So first, I am taking this row and I am making it absolute, and I'm setting it in the center here. And I set the z-index of this row to 9. I set the z-index of this other row to 99. That way it's just always kind of on top, because this second row, all I'm doing with it is making this color gradient effect. And then I believe I put some code in here. Yeah, so I'm putting in here, I got selector. I'm animating this row, animating it rotation 5 seconds, and then here's the rotation animation I had to grab to do this. And it took some trial and error, but I finally got there with this code right here. And so you can just leave it alone. But this 5 seconds is going to determine how often these colors kind of change. So I'm going to leave it at 5 for now, but normally I would do 30 or 15 or 25. So that's up to you. And then what's actually happening is this image right here is the thing that's changing. So this image I put in my mesh gradient with all my colors. And so what's happening is that this row is just spinning. And this image is in that row. And so it's just, the image is just spinning. And that's why you're seeing the different colors. Now, in order to get this to work, there's a couple bummers. Number one is you're not going to be able to get the whole image because you don't want to see the image edge on the corners. And I'll show you what I mean under sizing here. Oh, where did I see? Oh, under sizing, I'm forcing full width here. And I think that's it for this image. I think that's all I'm doing. Yep, that's it. So that image, I'm just setting it the full width. This row, I'm setting the sizing to no gutter. And then I'm also getting rid of any spacing. Because if I don't do this, it'll show. It's just good to zero that out. So I'll go back to my sizing here, and this is kind of where you see where it's going to get 200%. Why not 100%? Well, if I do 100%, then you're going to see the edges of that image just twirling. And so, I tried 150, and you still kind of see it, and just through trial and error, 200 seemed to do well. And then on tablet, it's 300. And then on mobile, it's 500. And you can adjust those. Depending on how much text you have up here and stuff, you might have to adjust these. But that's what's going on there. So keep that in mind when you have your image, because obviously these bolder colors on the edges, they're not quite making through. It's really kind of more this part in here that's coming through. So you could edit your image and push those in closer. So yeah, that's how to get this effect to work, and then you have all your same abilities that you normally would have in Divi. I can say, hey, I want a bottom divider on this, something like probably, and I think I'd have to do it on top of. I think there'd be some ways to get this to work. Let me flip this, and I'll just try to see if I can't do it really quick. Let's set it to white. And the reason why it's under... Oh, there we go. Sometimes the builder back here, it has a hard time, when you do something fancy like this, it has a hard time showing you in the back end. But rest assured, it's going to be there in the front end. Okay, so that's basically it. That's how we get this cool, different, multicolored, cool thing happening here. Another thought that I had was you could even, let's say the image had to be all up in here. What I could have done then is I could have said, okay, fine, let me go back here, go to my layer. So this row, let's say I had to have this row, instead of being 200%, let's say I had to have it be 100%. Well, then what you could do is you could, in an image editing program, I could have filtered some of it out. I could have gone in here to the position of this row and maybe put it over here or something, let's say. Cool. And then I'm going to go back to my section, and let's say I'm just going to set that image. There we go. I'm going to get this guy set up right here. And then I'm just going to take my row here, and under filters, I can just kind of fade it. I can kind of fade it out to where maybe a super subtle effect that's happening, or something like that. And again, if I slow it way down to like 25 seconds, then it's just a little kind of a line thing that happens. And that could be cool too, right? You could come up with some different kind of cool image. Maybe instead of the image being a colored image, this would probably work better if the image was black and white, which I think I can do, right? I think I can go in here and I can just say, hey, let's make this image under filters. Let's kill the saturation. And then maybe increase the contrast, maybe increase I can invert it. So you can kind of see how you can kind of get some cool things happening up there. That's kind of cool. But I'm not going to save it like this. I'm going to reload and so I can get that JSON that I promised y'all. I'll put that link in the description. But thanks again for checking this out. Be sure to check out, speaking of BSuperfly, be sure to check out our store, and I'll include the other links down in here. In fact, our website, with all the gradient love on it, we actually used one of our child themes to build out our own website. And it's this one here with this Minima. And you can see that huge button, buy now, but with just a little bit of work, you can get to look pretty dope. So, all right, thanks, y'all. Good to see you. Stay fly.